Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns to historic Cruise Stadium. Slipknot, Disturbed, Pantera, The Original Misfits, Evanescence, Limp Bizkit, Judas Priest, Stain, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Falling in Reverse, Sleep Token, Rise Again, 311, Seether, Mudvayne, and many more. May 16th through the 19th, Columbus, Ohio. Tickets on sale now at SonicTempleFestival.com.
On this episode, Dude and Brett welcome back Sam after a long absence, and we go through an Old Forester tasting with the new 1924 10-year-old Whiskey Row Expression. Find out what we thought on this episode of The Bourbon Hunters. In addition, we have some big news about a giveaway for Sonic Temple Music Festival here in Columbus, Ohio that happens May 16th through 19th of this year. So visit our webpage at www.bourbonhunters.com to read about our latest giveaway and have a chance to enter and win. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on our hunt for great bourbon. Reward yourself and sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Bourbon Hunters. I am Duke Poole. I'm joined by
Brett Bryan
and
Samuel Shaw.
Look at that. We've got...
He's back.
Back again.
Yeah.
Sam is back.
Tell your friends.
First-time listener.
First-time listener, long-time contributor. So, yeah, we've got a pretty cool lineup today. I just... so, it's funny, Brett. You texted me on Saturday telling me that Old Forester 1924 was at Giant Eagle. Mm-hmm. And I had already, as I was leaving the gym, decided to head there because someone had put that the Giant Eagle up in Powell had 1924. I was like, well, shit, if they do, then I bet our Giant Eagle does. So I started heading over, and then you texted, and I was like, I'm already on my way, man.
Yeah.
Like, and I was hoping there was enough, and there was plenty.
Agreed. There was like a case and a half when I went through.
Yeah, I probably could have gotten another one because they let you, as long as like the crowd of people that's at there, and if there is no crowd, they say 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I bought this, went and got some like yogurts and stuff for Trina, and then I came back to get what I thought was a J.J. Bowman, but it ended up just being the Bowman Brothers small batch. I probably could have gotten a second bottle of this if I wanted, and I didn't know if I was going to like it, so I wasn't sure. Yeah. And I happened to get the only one that has like a crazy crooked label on it. You see the purple 100 proofs going down sideways?
Yeah, I do see that.
So what we decided to do today is there's not a lot of age-stated Old Foresters out there. You get age statement on the birthday bourbons, you get age statement on the President's Choice, and this one is a 10-year-old age-stated Whiskey Row series. So I figured we may as well do a little age statement with the President's Choice and the 1924. And then I figured we'd throw in the single barrel we did last week from Bourbon Enthusiast because that was really good.
That thing has taken a hit. That's the one from last week?
Well, we had 4 people drink it, and then
I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I thought that was a different one, honestly.
There's no shit out of it on Saturday when we went out for
just shock.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day.
I just thought that was an older. I thought that was like a different older one.
Well, no. I've hit it hard, but I've got a second one. That's why.
Oh, that's right.
When I know I've got 2, I go ahead. If I like it, I go after it.
Yeah,
and then I'll just.
I'm intrigued to see how it's changed too.
I thought it oxidized pretty well.
It
matured. So we've got those 4 today. Plus, I gave us a little secret primer, and they just found out what it was. I gave them some Old Forester Whiskey Row, Whiskey Fire 117 series from last year when we were. It's actually a 2022, but we got it. Well, I think we actually did get it at the end of 2022, didn't we?
Maybe the end of 2022. Yeah, because I've had that for a while now.
Yeah.
Do you remember those little things, the dessert, like marshmallow, the chocolate-covered marshmallow things we got from there, too?
Those were
so good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you can order those online.
Well, I wanted to get some when we were there last time, but we never went to Old Forester.
So when I was down there for my bachelor party, we got some of those, and I learned my lesson. I got 2. One that I stashed away that I could tell my wife that, like, I brought this for you, and one that I just demolished immediately.
Oh, they were so good.
Yeah.
They're like a bourbon marshmallow.
And they pair well with like the 1920 because it's a little marshmallowy.
I think they pair well with all the Old Forester stuff.
I think Old Forester is one of the best like distilleries that I've seen that has like a cohesive brand.
Yeah.
That like all the stuff that you can buy in their shop, or like the little treats or trinkets, like all point back to this theme of Old Forester. They all work well together.
The only thing
Dr. Forrester.
the only thing that I feel like I've got all of Old Forester stuff because it's all readily available except for the birthday and the President's Choice. Everything's pretty much readily available. So when you go to Old Forester, there's really not much you can pick up. So like what I try to get now on my Old Foresters are single barrels, and I try to get the 100 proof single barrels. I think that's just where the magic's at for Old Forester. And in fact, the 1924 10-year-old is 100 proof.
100 proof.
So like that's right in that wheelhouse as well. So I think we're going to do President's Choice first because it's a little bit lower proof, I believe, if I remember correctly. I'll check it. Yeah, it's 96.3 proof. So we'll do that one second, or before the 10-year, I should say.
I don't know if they meant to do this, but I thought it was kind of neat. Like, my brain's weird. But so this is 1924, which is 100 years ago. That's 100 proof, and it's 10 years old. Like, all those numbers are like divisible with each other.
You can't divide 1924.
Okay,
It was
1924. I was like, it's 100 years.
I'm messing with you.
Yeah.
No, maybe it could be.
Probably not.
I don't know as much about this.
I bet that was intentional. Like again, Old Forester, like they are big on their branding.
A lot of things that seem like they're coincidental, when the people that are designing it put stuff together, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know that they've put some thought into it, so it wouldn't surprise me. So we'll get into it when we get to the 1924, but we're going to start with the I think the 115 is we'll start with the Old Forester single barrel from last week because it's 100 proof, which kind of sucks because let's finish with the 1920 actually, so that we have something to compare it to at the end.
Yeah, and plus it's the highest proof.
That's the reason I'm doing it. Yeah, exactly. Let's do that. So let's review this Old Forester 117 series Whiskey Fire.
For me, it's that classic banana is in there.
I was thinking the same thing.
It's like, but it's the desserty banana, like a caramelized banana.
I get a little Jolly Rancher out of it, like that very like sweet, sugary, like love it. Huge fan.
There's almost a little like marshmallowy, like caramel marshmallow kind of in there too.
100%.
Yes.
So this is what I really, really like about Old Forester, and we've talked about this before, but I'm a pretty good Old Forester homer. But I feel like, and the Whiskey Row series kind of takes an exit from this, but if you buy their shelfers, the 86 or the 100 signature, you get banana all day long.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you get to their single barrels, like the 100 proof, I feel like banana's just sitting there all day on all of those. And if you get for me anyway, if you get a really good single barrel that's at 100 proof, for me, if it's popping with banana, it's outstanding. And you might get lucky and get some things like some caramel or something, that makes it really seem like a Bananas Foster or something like that. But that's, for me, where it's at with Old Forester, and that's why I really like it. Some people don't like it because of the banana. And so there's nothing you can really do about it if that's the case. If you don't like banana, you're not going to like it. Kind of like you with cinnamon or something.
Yeah, or like the bubble gum notes.
Type. Yeah. So this Whiskey Row, this Whiskey Fire, this is I think there was a fire on Whiskey Row at one of their facilities in 2015, and I believe they were able to salvage some of it, and 7 years later they bottled it as a release for this. I think it had something to do with the firemen that came to save it or something. Maybe they had part of choosing the selection or something like that. But I don't have it in front of me.
I think that sounds familiar.
There were firemen involved. Yeah. Maybe they were just putting out the fire, but I thought they also were invited back to help choose the taste profile or something like that.
You said that confidently enough, I believe.
Yeah, but there's enough people on the interwebs that I'll get fact checked. So I gotta throw some.
That's why you don't read the comments.
Uncertainty into it, right? So this is really good. We just killed this bottle. Luckily, they let us buy two when we did our pick back in the day, and
that was a fun private tour that we got as
well.
That
was. It was basically the VIP tour, but it was just 5 of us because we were doing a pick, and it was really, really intimate and nice. We got to, segue the conversation a lot, ask questions and things like that I feel like in a bigger tour you wouldn't necessarily get. Plus, at the end, they let us, buy a 117, which was really, really nice. And they let us buy 2, actually, which was really nice.
Yeah, because they were 375s. They're small. So it was nice because we got, full 5th at that point.
Yeah.
750.
That's awesome.
And so I just killed one. So
I literally just did last week, too, which is funny.
Yeah. So.
I did not, but I enjoyed this.
This is very good.
This was a good start to the evening. Hopefully, hopefully it keeps going up. But so the first thing we're going to start with is that Old Forester single barrel that I mentioned. This is one we talked about last week. We didn't formally review it. It was our primer last week. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out and start pouring that for everyone. Or I'll let you pour your own, actually, because I know some of you have early mornings and don't want to take one of my pours. I have an early morning too, but I don't have to go anywhere after this. So
some of us have early mornings, but also want a heavy pour because I need an excuse.
Because tomorrow's my off day from CrossFit. I will be coaching and then going into work, but I will not be participating because I have not had a day off in 11 or 12 days.
Yeah.
So
I have meetings and more meetings and more meetings. So cheers.
I'm getting into that same scenario. Yeah. A lot of meetings. So this is a pick from Bourbon Enthusiast. I mentioned that already. I got this. So we recorded last Tuesday, and this showed up at my door 2 or 3 minutes before we recorded. So we went ahead and just popped it open, and we enjoyed it. But it was a Hyman pour. So we had busted the Hyman on that one. We had not really had a chance to oxidize, so it was a fresh pour.
Now it's loose. I mean, it's
it's everyone's had some. It's like my ex-girlfriend in high school by senior year. I mean, it's almost empty. I mean, it's
ready to throw it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's old news now. So
the nose is still faint. I don't know about you
guys.
Yeah,
the nose was never strong last week either.
I didn't know if it would have changed at all.
I would have thought, if anything, it would have been stronger on opening.
Yeah.
Just because of the ethanol. But I mean, I still get a nice something that you wouldn't enjoy on the nose.
The bubble gum.
Yeah.
I definitely get a little bit of the bubble gum. I get a hint of smoke.
This is what I'm having to throw my nose into, though.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have to go hunting for
the
notes
flavor. Bourbon Hunter and
Nose Hunter.
Nose Hunter. Speaking of nose hunting, how's the schnoz doing?
Schnoz is good.
Yeah.
It's been not making a lot of appearances, I know.
No, but you've had some things going on at the house. You've got some renovations about to unfold.
Yeah, I'm not so. It's it really sucks because my foundation walls are kind of falling in on my house. Not to the point that my house is going to collapse, but there's 1 inch of movement on each wall. And it's one of those, if you let it go too far, eventually they have to dig out around the foundation to support it, or, you know what I mean? Fix it versus where now they can put in those. They actually use some, Kevlar straps, which is weird now. They use, steel support beams, but they also have some, Kevlar / carbon fiber straps that work really
which
well.
Which is nice because it does protect you from any drive-by shootings.
Yes, absolutely, right.
We've got our basement... gone through the same thing. So in 20...
It's very common in this area, I was told.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movement in the earth.
Correct.
In this... honestly, speaking of 1 inch of movement, I had 1 inch of movement on Friday. No, but my parents' house growing up, we had to have our foundation kind of fixed as well because...
We have I-beams in our basement for that exact same thing.
It's very common, I guess.
Yeah, we had about a 3 or 4 inch shift.
Yeah.
It was pretty significant.
And they say at that point, sometimes they have to dig out around the foundation.
We didn't have to do that. They brought in some beams that actually got just forced into place.
Yeah.
And it widened it back out, I guess. It was bowing in the middle, and then they were able to put pressure from the inside. It was almost like a jack that they expanded and expanded. Then once they got it to the point where the beam would fit in, and I don't know how they got it in there. I wasn't there when it happened. Then they kind of released the jack and it held it where it needed to be.
Ours has we've got I-beams on 2 of the walls in the basement. The main one though was the chimney, 100-year-old house. So the chimney started slowly collapsing. So they filled the entire chimney with concrete and then they went underneath and then reinforced the foundation with the steel I-beams there, which has been perfectly fine. Like there was a one-time transferable warranty. Like we feel protected with all of it. Like it's the way
Great.
they did it correctly. And then the basement started leaking through one of the IB.
Oh no,
that sucks.
Yeah.
The bubble gum is really standing out to me.
on the nose or the taste?
On the nose. I haven't gotten into the taste yet. I let it sit and I was moving it around and I went right in and got some bubble gum. But I also there's almost some caramel and maybe some toffee. There's a lot
toffee on the palate for me.
I'm about to taste it. Have you tasted it?
It
Sam?
just started. It's good. It's
got a good mouthfeel.
Yeah, it comes in hot.
It's not the finish definitely. It doesn't come in hot on the front of the mouth.
It does
or the
for
front
me.
of the palate. For me, it finishes. I don't want to say hot, but spicy for sure. It's not like giving me a dragon's hug or whatever, the dragon's breath or Kentucky hug or second breath or whatever they call it. But I am getting a lingering finish.
I definitely get a lingering finish.
It's warming the chest, but not like crazy.
I wish I knew what I could pick out in this.
But I'll tell you, it's not like as viscous as some of the Russells we've had, but it's a lot more viscous than I expect on an Old Forester.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Most Old Foresters don't have that viscosity. Like the 1920, I feel like does.
Yeah. But this
But
is
usually
good.
these single barrels
It's
don't.
good. It really has it stays with you, and for how it's not a very viscous bourbon. So I would expect that to fade a lot quicker than it is.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. This is all positive for me. I don't have anything negative to say about this, but I can't put my finger on any of the single profiles yet. I think I'm going to have to sit with this for a couple more minutes. But so you're redoing your basement foundation, and in the meantime, you're also going to put in a little home theater?
Yeah, so it's not a huge basement area. If you imagined I know our listeners can't see this, but kind of close off where the little doorway is there.
Yeah.
Maybe this size, or maybe a little smaller than what's in here.
So about 15 by 20.
Yeah, I think
something
it was
like that.
350 to 400 square feet, depending on
Okay.
something like that. Nothing crazy. But I want to do a theater room where I'm going to do some ambient lights, some LEDs in the ceiling. Do it I don't want to do a projector. I think it makes more sense just to do a large TV.
No,
I
not
think
anymore.
projectors are kind of an old thing. But do a big projector, but do it like Dude has, where all the cords are hidden and there's no cords running down the wall.
Yep.
Do outlets up high, since it's a fresh start.
Yep.
Right. I think I'm even going to do one of those ones where it has HDMI inputs and stuff in the wall as well.
Good.
And then I might have a dedicated home theater PC hidden off in a different region.
I'll tell you don't need HDMI ports there's some really nice HDMI cables that are one way. Mm-hmm. And so they're amplified, but they can only work in one direction. Mm-hmm. I'll let you see back there, but I've got these little vent-like plates.
I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
And those are great. You just run it overhead.
Yeah.
And then what I like to do, this is why I said take out your ceiling, is run it overhead, but put in some nice PVC, thick PVC that you can just run the wire through.
Yeah.
So if you ever need to do it again,
It's like conduit at that point.
yeah. If you ever need to do it again, you just run some wire runner and stuff like that, and then leave in a couple of things, leave a pulley system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that you can run the wire through.
Yeah. No,
And then-
absolutely.
so
If you go the PC route, there is HDMI optical now, which is good if you want to get your tower far enough away that you never hear the fans or never you
okay.
can put the tower in a different room.
oh, because you use a streaming PC, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I do. I stream
Yeah.
everything.
So if you stream everything, I would put the tower PC in a closet or a different room, have a mini server room, run an HDMI optical through there, and it's pretty much a zero latency system. Well,
Nice.
quote unquote.
Here's the
listeners,
thing, though.
I'm doing air quotes for that zero latency. Don't
He's
come
in
at
a
me.
small enough room that he can just run regular HDMI. It's not 50 feet.
It would be 50 at the max, I think.
I mean,
with
but
all the
here's my
turns.
thing.
You
My-
can.
my server room's
but
right there.
How cool is it to say I have an optical HDMI
mean,
setup?
yeah,
That's
hey,
kind of cool.
you're going to be paying extra for it.
I'm sure.
not that much extra.
I'm sure.
It's more extra.
I mean, not that much.
It's enough extra that with all the other things he has going on, he's trying to pinch pennies wherever he can.
It's enough extra that with all the other things you have going on, it's a rounding error.
Fair
It's a
enough.
rounding error. I love
Yeah,
that.
and what'll be interesting is I've never seen your house outside of your bedroom with Jess while you weren't home.
When the lights are really dim, too.
Right. She always has the red room ready and
Yeah.
stuff, but I've never seen the basement.
So, yeah.
So I'd like to come over and see the basement
Absolutely.
at some point, finally. The extra bedroom that she always makes me go into is just it's not
It's
really
kind of plain.
Well, I just don't really get to experience the house.
Yes.
Right, you just
know?
have the one peephole, and that's all you've got.
Definitely.
Well, and I mean, Brett's the one on the other side of the peephole. I don't see the peephole.
I call it a glory hole.
Yeah. You got to dodge it with your eye. All right, so I think this is pretty good. Like I said, I'm drinking more and more of it, and I'm not getting like I'm still getting bubblegum on the nose, like
I still
strong.
get bubblegum on the nose. I get a little bit of like the toffee flavor.
I get that. I don't get
get
any
a
bubblegum
toffee.
on. I don't get
Yeah.
any bubblegum on the flavor.
I don't either. I don't either.
But I am getting a toffee, caramelly kind of. It's a really nice flavor.
It really is.
What's
And
that
it- and now
crunchy
it's-
thing in a Butterfinger? What is that?
Nougat.
No, nougat's like Musketeers.
I don't
Do
know.
you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
That's what it kind of reminds me
Yeah.
of.
Three Musketeers does have that like nougaty.
But like,
He's
remember
talking about
Butterfingers?
Oh, yeah.
What's the crunchy stuff in the
There's
butter?
it gets all stuck in your fucking teeth and everything.
I've
I don't eat
never
'em.
I've never eaten a Butterfinger in my life.
Really.
Me and peanuts
I've
don't
had
get
like a
along,
little
so.
like small piece of
Because
one or
it's
two.
called Butterfinger. I think it sounds disgusting. If it was
Yeah.
peanut Butterfinger, I'd be like all
Yeah.
over it. But that just doesn't sound good to me. I'm like
That's what it
Butterfinger,
reminds me of, though. Yeah, I don't know where. That's a great point. Like, where did that name?
right?
That was always like a Simpsons thing too.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day?
right. It was.
Bart
They
Simpson was
were
like,
they were in the ads.
yeah, you better not lay a finger on my Butterfinger. That
Right.
was a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah, no, I like
I like it.
I can't give a lot of notes for it outside of the nose being bubblegum and the little toffee-ish kind of caramel maybe taste, but it's good.
Did you? And I mean, keep going. I can look while you guys are talking. But if you pulled up like the Patreon and seen the tasting notes from Bourbon Enthusiast,
No, but I could, yeah. I've got the 1924 stuff pulled up. But yeah, I'll pull that up real quick while we're talking. While we are talking, in the meantime,
Why can't I get logged in? This is stupid.
well, you just suck. You don't keep your stuff logged in. I'm not logged in either.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell?
It must have updated or something.
Yeah,
recently.
because I literally had the
Because
same thing.
I am literally not logged in either, or figuratively, either one. Nothing.
I was reading.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Assholes. I said I'm not logged in literally or figuratively.
Oh, well, true.
All right, this is going to be a weird note. I kind of get some black pepper out of it.
Yeah, on the spice.
I think that's like the spice.
Yeah, but like that kind of like I almost wanted to call it like a fajita, like that, like just
Fajitas?
Yes. That little bit of like heat, peppery in the backness.
There's definitely something peppery. So this says nose, dense, heavy caramelized wood sugar, brown spice, dark fruit. Taste, brown sugar layered with sweet oak and toasted cinnamon. Finish, chocolate, barrel char spice,
Yeah,
right there.
that's it.
Fades into dark, syrupy fruit reduction.
I don't know that I get the fruit reduction on the end of it.
That char spice is there.
The char spice,
definitely.
I think, is like overshadowing any of the other subtler notes on the back for me.
The brown sugar, I think, is there, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there is some oak for me too.
Now that you mention it, I can look for it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have found that on my own.
Yeah.
I do agree with toasted cinnamon. I think that's kind of what we're getting on the finish. But the toasted cinnamon, that's a little bit different than I'm used to.
Agree.
Like,
Yeah.
Like with, say, a Maker's 101 or an Old Granddad 114.
Yeah, different. This is more like cinnamon roll cinnamon versus like
Yeah.
big red gum cinnamon.
Yeah. And I think barrel char spice, I think that and the toasted cinnamon, I think, are coming together to give me that finish.
Yeah, and I think the barrel char spice, that's where I was getting like the black peppery notes.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. I think
totally
that's what that is.
get that for sure. Now, this is good. If and when we get to do our barrel pick with Old Forester, that's been in the making for like 2 years now, then I would want to go 100 proof for two reasons, because you get more bottles, but for the third reason,
I was like, what?
that was one reason I know. For the second reason is because I think Old Forester is better at 100 proof.
I really like
Agree.
100 proof is like that's where they shine. Like there's not so much overpowering or any like you're not fighting anything. Like you're just able to let it mellow and just
Of all the barrel strength Old Forester single barrel picks I've ever had, I've maybe had three that have been outstanding.
They drink hot, man.
But that's what I mean.
They drink hot.
But like, here's the thing about them: they drink hot with a lot of flavor.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're always good, but they're hot.
And so I want to like strip some of that hotness away.
Right, so you add a little, you got just a
find
touch
myself
of water
putting water in
sometimes,
them, yeah.
or I'll put it like on a cube just because, like on a summer day, put it with a cube and then it melts down and it's like amazing.
Especially like a tumbler where it doesn't melt too fast.
Yeah, like a Yeti or something. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd give this a pretty good rating here. I think Bourbon Enthusiast, I align very well with his with James's palate on that. He does a really good job of finding some good picks. Almost every pick I've been on probably 10 picks with him now, and I think we almost always align. I'm never thinking, oh God, I'm not going to buy this when it comes out. Whenever I've been on a pick with him, it's been like, okay, can't wait for this one. So that's been nice, and this one just falls right in line with that. He's really good with that. Mash and Journey, I'm the same way with Mash and Journey. I love their picks as well. I'm pretty upset that I didn't get that Booker's. What was the Booker's? They used Booker's Distillate. What did we have last week? Was it Nashville?
The Nashville Barrel Company.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so
good. Agree.
That was so good.
Those are those things too that like
you don't know.
You don't know, right?
And then you taste it, and you're like, "Son of a bitch!"
Yeah.
That was so good.
It was like the Backbone bourbon that I had gotten. If I would have never tried it the week previously, I probably would have never bought that. I've been like, what is this? Like, I don't really know these people.
Well, and there's been some picks I've seen from Backbone that people swear by and think are amazing.
Yeah, that one bottle's really good.
All right, guys. So we're jumping ahead here. We're going to
El Presidente,
the President's Choice, and I'm going to tell the story. I've told it probably 10 times on the podcast now.
So let's make it 11.
Make it 11, but it goes to 11. Did you see they're doing Spinal Tap 2?
I feel like either someone has said that to me.
Dan just told me about it the other day. I was like, what? And
I watched the original Spinal Tap in college.
I love Spinal Tap. It's such a great movie. I watched it in high school. Actually, it was probably elementary school or middle school. It was probably middle school. And to be honest, so here's a story about Spinal Tap. I watched it with two band friends. I was never in the band, but they were my next door neighbors growing up. They were 2 years older than me. This was the first night I'd ever stayed up all night. Like, honestly. So we were like, oh, let's stay up all night. We're going to do it. So we went and
It seems like such a cool thing when you're a kid.
Yeah. Because you're breaking all the rules.
No bedtime.
You're breaking the law. Breaking the law. But so we sat down and started watching Spinal Tap. I don't remember what else we watched. I think we maybe watched a Conan the Barbarian or something like that, or the Destroyer or something. And then I remember when the sun came out, we were outside in his backyard watching the sun come out. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember one of those real quick, then I'll go back to you.
Hold on. It was Richard Odell and Mike Kesey. That's who I did it with. And I'm friends with both of them on Facebook. I've actually hung out with Mike Kesey in Philadelphia a couple times. He lives in town now again, though. But anyway.
I had one of those similar where, like, it wasn't probably the first time I ever stayed up, but it was like 6th, 7th grade at a buddy's house. But his parents didn't, like, I won't say they didn't care what you did, but they were, a lot more relaxed on their rules.
Yeah. Everyone had friends who had those parents.
Yeah. And their parents rented Pulp Fiction for us. Because they had, like,
so I was
it would
in
have
college, man.
94 is when that came out.
I know. I was in college.
You were in college in 94?
I was in college in 93.
I guess I don't remember that.
How would you remember that? You didn't.
Well,
know me?
I guess I don't remember when you graduated high school and college.
I graduated high school in spring of 93.
Okay.
Started college in fall of 93. Watched Pulp Fiction in maybe the spring of 94.
Yeah.
I remember watching Jurassic Park with my sister at AMC Dublin. That was the place to watch movies when I was in college. Before they did theater seating or the recliner seating and all that stuff.
Yeah.
AMC Dublin was the place to watch movies. It was the huge mega, whatever, and I saw Jurassic Park there. I saw most every movie I've ever seen there, for the most part, until Linux opened up. Linux opened up, changed the whole game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the IMAX and all that stuff was a bigger deal.
And just the steeper seating so that you didn't have to see over people and stuff.
Yeah.
It was nice. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, no, we probably didn't even get half of that fucking movie. As kids, all the drugs and everything in it, you know what I mean? We probably didn't get half of the shit in it. But we were like, this is supposed to be the best movie ever.
It was a good movie.
I love Tarantino movies. It's still one of my favorites.
Well, and so, like, I was watching this...
all the, like, storylines coming together.
And I was reading this thing about how the 90s, after that movie, the independent films of the 90s all tried to emulate it in a certain way where they would tell multiple stories at a time that came together at the end. And there was a movie that came out in 1999 called Go. Great movie.
Never
Sarah
heard of it.
Polley had one of the... Scott Wolf from Party of Five had Jay Moore, had Melissa McCarthy in her first role ever.
Melissa McCarthy.
And she's like maybe a 2-minute part in the whole movie. Great. There's so many people in the movie. I can't even remember their names. Just people that were just up and coming or just always like in a straight line, those B characters or supporting characters.
There are those like linchpin movies where you go back and watch them and you're like,
oh my
holy
God, I know
shit,
him.
This
Oh,
has
I know
everyone.
him.
Yeah.
That's how Go is.
Yeah.
And it had Taye Diggs, I believe, and all these people that you're just like, who the fuck are all these people? But at the time, like, you know, you didn't know them, but now you look back and you're like, holy shit. Had Timothy Oliphant. He was in it. Katie Holmes was in it.
Yep.
But
I'm in
anyway,
love with Katie Holmes.
I mean, who wasn't at the time in the 90s?
Yeah.
Her and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Like,
Oh, yeah,
those were
Jennifer
the two,
Love Hewitt.
right?
Oh,
So,
man, those 90s movies.
But I was reading this article that said that Go was this culmination of, and it was like it was 1999, I believe. And it was like basically a culmination of all the 90s independent films that were coming out and that all kind of mapped back to the Quentin Tarantino storytelling of like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, stuff like that.
Oh, Reservoir Dogs is another amazing one.
Well, in Reservoir Dogs, what it did was a freaking soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
The soundtrack to Reservoir Dogs was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Pulp Fiction started the whole independent stories that tie together later. You know, and so Go was one of those. It had all these independent stories that came back, and they were telling them out of order, and then they all come to a culmination at the end. Just an amazing thing. So you had like dialogue was a huge thing in the 90s. So all these independent films, there were two types. There were the big budget independent films and the low budget independent films with like who was the guy that played Mask in the Cher movie Mask? Eric Stoltz. Also was the original pick for Back to the Future.
That's an old one.
For Back to the Future,
Yeah.
except for Michael J. Fox. He didn't test well, so they hired Michael J. Fox and reshot
I
the
remember
movie.
that, yeah.
So Eric Stoltz was the independent darling. He was the guy. Every independent film, pretty much. Parker Posey was the girl. They were like on a like parallel path of independent movies of like, if it had a guy, it was usually Eric Stoltz. If it was a girl, it was Parker Posey. Anyway, there was just all these movies that were just about nothing in the 90s. And they were just called independent. They were called independent films. And it was this wave of movies that was just mostly conversation and like some big events happen in their lives, but nothing happens in the actual movie itself. And Go was one of those. It was a huge, big budget movie. There was stuff happening in Vegas and all these things happening. Tons of like up and coming and on their way down type actors. And but it was like pop culture stuff, references to crazy pop cultures, weird locations, good soundtrack like Magic Carpet Ride was in it.
Oh, that is a good song. I like that.
And there was another song that was big at the time. It wasn't like hey there, you're an all-star or whatever. It was something
Smash
in that
Mouth.
it was something in that realm though.
Yeah.
So Go, the soundtrack for Go was freaking amazing. And then, but then you also had the dialogue, like Katie Holmes sitting there with, she's this little schoolgirl, like, you know, goody, whatever. And she's sitting at a diner with Timothy Oliphant, who's a drug dealer. And they're having this just existential conversation, you know, and it's just, that's just the culmination of like 90s movies.
Yeah.
And then they had like 5 storylines that kind of went off in their own direction and then came back together at the end. And so it was the last movie in the 90s that kind of came out like that, Pulp Fiction-esque and 90s independent film-esque. And it was just I was reading this article. It was really cool. It was a good summary of, you know, that movie and the 90s together.
I need to rewatch Pulp Fiction. It's been a minute, which I could probably quote the movie
Oh,
for you.
me too. I love that
But
movie.
I love like the opening scene in the diner.
Well, remember, that was John
You
Travolta's...
motherfuckers move.
Yeah. Say what again?
I have seen that movie once.
Really?
What?
It's a classic for me.
It does.
When? When?
A few years ago. Well, more than like probably 7-8 years ago.
Oh my God.
So you have to keep in mind, like I grew up very like cult Christian, and so
Yes,
that's
I
fair.
remember.
that
I
was
remember.
like there was a lot to like the social
you didn't get to
zeitgeist
see,
that just
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And by the time I was an adult, it was like everyone talks about it, and I had heard all of the memes and all of the quotes, and so it's like,
See, I have a theory
This smells fantastic.
Yeah, I want to get into this real quick.
Which one did we open?
President's Choice.
It's, if I remember, so can you read on there? It should tell you how many summers that it aged. It's like 9 summers.
9 summers in barrel.
Yeah.
Number 21.
Yeah. So it's not quite 10 years old. And so we talk about Old Forester. Old Forester heat cycles their warehouses, but not all of them are heat cycled anymore. So we'll get to this a little bit more on the 10-year-old 1924. But what they'll do is, for the older stuff, they'll heat cycle it for the first 5 or 6 years, and then they'll move it off to an unheat cycled warehouse so that it ages at a traditional style. But this President's Choice, I started to tell the story and then I interrupted myself. I was at Louder Than Life, first time I'd ever been at Louder Than Life in Louisville. And Trina and I were there. We get there on a Thursday, the first day of the concert. We get there and check in at like 11 a.m. She's getting ready, and I'm like, well, fuck, what am I going to do while she's getting ready? I'm like, well, Old Forester is like a block and a half away. I'm going to just walk over there and see if I can get a 1910 for the weekend.
Because those were hard to get for a while.
Well, they weren't at this time.
Okay.
They were starting to be readily available.
Okay.
If you wanted one, you could get one. But I was just like, well, that's a good bottle to have for the weekend to drink through a concert, tailgate.
It's a phenomenal weekend bottle.
Well, and it's just something I could drink and then go into a concert already buzzed because I've had 2 or 3 drinks of it, and then not have to worry about paying $20 for a beer in the concert.
Right.
So that was my thinking. So I go to Old Forester. There's a line outside. This is 19. This is 20, 20 or 2021. Everything's coming back from COVID, but it's September, so it might have been 2020. And I go there and I'm like, well, there's a line outside the door. I'm like, well, shit, maybe they're still limiting how many people can be in the store at a time. Right. A lot of people did that to just kind of keep it from being packed with COVID people and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just get in this line. It's 4 people in front of me. I'm not worried about it. So I'm standing there in the line. There's a guy, there's almost like a doorman, and he's standing there. I'm like, oh, what are we still limiting how many people can go inside for COVID? And he's like, no. He's like, we're about to release the President's Choice. I'm like, you've got to fucking be kidding me. This never, at the time,
Yeah.
I was like, this never happens to me. Now, I've had some really good run on some things since then. But at the time, this was like the first time I've ever gotten in line for something and been like, oh, shit, really?
Yeah, right place, right time.
Yeah, it was, and there were 4 people in front of me. By the time I got in and came back out, the line was all the way around the block.
Jesus.
And I was like, holy shit. So, like, the Coconut Telegraph must have gone out and everyone knew. So everyone happened to just know. So I go in there and I buy my, I buy a 1910, and I buy the President's Choice, and I buy an Old Forester Glencairn. And then I head back to my hotel. But I just couldn't believe that. The luck on that for me was just, I've never had that happen to me. And so I just happened to stumble upon the line before the news went out that they were releasing that day.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, sometimes. And for me,
I am neither.
That's funny. So
this nose reminds me of the 117.
This one's a little more oaky, if I remember correctly, and it's a little lower proof. It's 96.3 proof.
I get hella brown butter.
I get brown butter, but I get it's like brown butter with oak.
Yeah, a little bit of that like oaky after. I almost get like a hint of apricot on the nose, but like brown butter is like a punch in the face for me.
Fuck. Did you taste it yet?
I did.
No.
I did.
Damn, that's
It's very good.
So what this didn't have on the nose on the single barrel that we just had, this has so much going on the nose. The nose is great, like all the things you just mentioned, but then I went and dove into this, and
he pointed to me, by the way. I take credit.
Yeah, I dove into this, and there's a lot going on in this, more than I remember, to be honest.
This bottle's better than I remember.
This is 2/3 gone too by now.
This is really good. I don't know that I've had this yet.
Oh,
it's very good.
I thought you've been here once and had it. Maybe you haven't.
I very well might have.
You might not have. I don't know.
I tell people my mind's like a steel trap, old, rusted, and rarely used.
We've had this on 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And I honestly, that's the only time I drink it is when we've done this, and it's almost gone. I never just come down and have some President's Choice. So it's all been from you guys and me drinking it on podcasts.
This is really good.
Yeah, this is outstanding. So does it say which year this is? That would help me out. Was it 2020?
I thought it's 21, but I could be wrong.
It might be 21.
I'm not.
I think it says it on the front, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought it said it on the. I love when bottles are like handwritten too.
Yeah. It doesn't say.
What's that 21 referring to?
Barrel 21.
Barrel 21.
Does it say when it was barreled? Because we can kind of reverse engineer it from the 9 years and the 9 summers.
I'm not seeing anything. Nope. Whiskey has been aged at least 102 months. I'm not seeing any date.
Hand it to Brett and let him hand it to me. And while you guys are talking about the next thing, I'll see if there's a laser code or anything on the bottle.
Well, my favorite linchpin movie of having all of the actors that like you're like, holy fuck, how did they get everyone there? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
And that's one that I went back.
That's
and,
a movie that actually, I wouldn't say the book is outstanding.
Oh, book's phenomenal.
But as far as movies doing a book justice, there's 2 in my opinion that do a really good job of it. One of them is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the other one is Fight Club.
Yeah,
the book of Fight Club is freaking phenomenal.
I haven't read that. I should read it.
The movie is almost
The movie's great.
Yeah.
The movie, there's differences, there's subtle differences, but the movie is almost as good.
I agree. I
which
think,
doesn't happen very often.
It's weird now that you mention it. I never thought I would say the sentence. What Fight Club and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy have in common is they really try to honor the spirit of the book.
Yeah.
In the movie,
where
versus
they had to fill in gaps or speed up time or something.
Yeah,
they
versus
made up
a
for it
shot-to-shot recreation of
right.
we're trying to tell the book in movie form. They're just what was the book trying to convey? Let's do that message justice.
So I've got this story. I've probably told this on the podcast before, maybe not. I grew up in I was born in 75. I grew up in the 80s, if you will.
Yeah.
So we had an IBM PC probably when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I grew up with that computer. It was 2 5.25 floppy drives. You had to put in DOS to start the computer, and then once DOS loaded up, you put in whatever, ran the line code for whatever you were trying to start up, whether it was a game or a word processor, whatever the case may be.
C://
Right. So so DOS, all the DOS, command line stuff. One of the things that I really got into when I was growing up is there was these word games. They were games that were there was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It was one of them. The way you played it, there were no graphics. It was all It was all
words.
There's
a storyline. I played games
but you had to tell it what to do. And if you didn't do the words right, there were a large number of acceptable phrases that would work, like check the time or, look in the closet or open the closet door, whatever. If you didn't say certain things, you couldn't get to the next step.
Right.
But the game I remember was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I played that, and I hadn't read the book yet. So I didn't know what I was doing. And so you just had to kind of make your way through it and keep trying until you got it. But other games like that were like Zorg, I think.
Okay.
And
that is a very random world to have to learn through text-based guess and check.
Well,
Well,
remember at the beginning
was it Dragon's Lair or something weird like that was one of them too.
Yeah, I think it's Dragon's Lair.
There's one of them that was similar where
but
you're a knight.
that was visual.
There's the one I'm thinking. That's not what I'm thinking of. Then continue. Sorry.
Dragon's Lair is the one that had the guy who was the prince or whatever, and you didn't control the game as much as you thought.
It was like a video.
Yes.
A lot of it. Okay.
You would do something and then you'd watch what happened. I think that was Dragon's Lair.
I think you're right. I'm Googling some.
So, but these games, I can't remember. They were like role-playing games, basically.
Yeah, they're RPGs.
But they were all where you had to. It was all text-based.
Yeah.
And I loved those games because I thought they were just so fun. It was almost like reading a book.
Oh yeah.
And so it was the computer nerd version of reading a book. So,
I'm here for
but that was my first experience with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then I went and read the book. Then I went and saw the movie. The movie was outstanding.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
But who's the guy that was in not Lord of the Rings, but
the Hobbit, Martin Freeman.
He's in it. Mm-hmm. And then who's the black guy that's the very famous? I can't remember his name. He's got a goofy name.
I know.
And he became an actor. I think he was maybe a rapper first.
Mos Def.
Mos Def.
Yeah.
There you go.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, he was in it.
But it also has Sam Rockwell.
Yeah,
Bill
Sam
Knightley,
Rockwell's awesome.
Zoe Deschanel.
Yes.
It's the same one that everyone that pops on screen, holy shit.
Mos Def, I think that might have been his first role. It may not have been, but I think people were like pissed off when they first heard he was cast for the movie, but he actually killed it.
Like everyone in there, like either was so established in their career or so brand new to their career that they didn't give a shit. They were just like
They were having
all
a
in,
blast.
having fun. And
That
you
was
can
like
tell.
someone getting called back for Star Wars, and
Yeah.
like if you watch Mandalorian, there are so many people. Like Izzo was just in Mandalorian, and so was Jack Black, and all these people that it was probably their like life's dream to be in some sort of Star Wars movie.
In I think it was Force Awakens, Daniel Craig is one of the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he was just
really?
like, I just want to like
Yeah,
keep
he
the
is.
armor. Like I don't
That's
care.
cool.
Like I just want to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's his voice. It's I think it is Force Awakens. No, you might be right. It was either that or the original series of Mandalorian.
He was in one of the movies.
I think you're right. I think it might have been Force Awakens, but yeah, he's just playing a stormtrooper. Like I think he was one of the ones that ride the bikes or whatever.
I don't remember which. Yeah, he was in it, and like didn't have to be credited. Didn't have to. He's just I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. So maybe it was on the. It might have been on the actual big like base starship thing that Kyle Ren was in.
Oh yeah.
It might have
so
been on one of those.
listeners, if you know, leave a comment.
I think it was.
That's what you call
I
engagement.
think it. You know what? I think it was when they were.
I think it was
torturing the girl.
Yeah, like when
think he was
Ray
one of
first was like, "Hey, no, I can use the Force now
Yeah.
because we've hit that time in the movie."
We've hit that time
Wow.
in the movie.
I see where you lie now. I enjoyed Force Awakens.
I enjoyed it. It was a fun,
It was
nostalgic
it was a
ride.
reboot.
Yeah, like
But who cares?
I had
That's
fun
what
with
I
it.
liked
It was a
about it.
popcorn movie. I enjoyed
I liked it better than the second one.
I liked the second one.
I
liked the
didn't.
second
I
one a
hated the
lot.
fucking the part in the second one where they decided to get all political. I'm like, that wasn't subtle. That was not subtle. Like it was a total rip on capitalism and all this stuff.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah,
fuck
no,
you.
that part was dumb. But like overall,
That was the worst part of the whole fucking series.
Agreed. The
And they
second
just-
one,
and
all
the
in
fact
all,
that was worse than anything in the Phantom Menace.
yeah.
That portion of it.
Which also, speaking of the Phantom Menace, it is 25 years old this
God,
year.
I remember waiting in line to see that movie.
Yeah, it's coming out in theaters again, and yes, I will.
Is
go
it really?
Watch it.
I'll probably go watch it
That's
again
cool.
too.
Yeah.
There's a couple movies that I can't. Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, or something like that.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that in the theater.
I saw Dune 2 when it came
Haven't-
out.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I haven't been in a theater since COVID happened.
Really?
Grandview Theater is where it's at.
Yeah,
100%.
no, I know.
Andrew, 100%.
Is amazing.
But they don't always get a lot of good stuff. Sometimes it's art stuff. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
rehashes of old movies that are like whatever. Anyway, what do we think of this?
Phenomenal.
Oh,
Right?
wonderful.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
This is better than I remember.
I'm intrigued to see it like next to the 1924
Yeah.
to kind of see where the two like match up.
So we just
because they're
did-
similar in age statement, right?
Right.
You know, 9 years versus 10.
Yeah, no, this is really surprising. I don't remember it being this good.
It's really good.
What was, if you don't mind sharing with us, the price point on that bottle?
At least
retail?
$2.
I don't think it was 200.
No, I said 2.
Oh, yeah, it's at least $2. I think it was 150 maybe.
So it'll be interesting to taste like that versus the 1924 of like for if they're both
Price,
readily available.
value, things like
yeah,
that.
right.
Well, here's the thing. I don't believe. So we'll get into the Whiskey Row series in just a second, but I don't believe this 1924 is going to be readily available ever. I think it's going to be released every year as an LTO that's within the Whiskey Row series.
Yeah, I think it'll be hard to have
I could be wrong.
a readily available 10-year, but like Henry McKenna,
It's not hard, but it's hard if you haven't planned for it.
Yeah.
Because everyone has 10 years just readily available. Russell's 10, Henry McKenna's 10, Eagle Rare's 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of the Elijah Craig's are 10. I mean, it's not hard if you've planned for it. It's when you have made a habit of heat cycling and releasing your stuff at 5 and 6 and 7 years at the most, which is what Old Forester has always done. That's when it may be a little tougher.
Yeah, my buddy and
to
I
fill, demand.
we're talking about this, and he was saying the same thing about like remember when 1910 was very hard to find.
Well, but 1910 was hard to find because it was finished in a second barreling,
Right.
and they made the same amount they made for 1920 and didn't expect for it to be as big of a hit as it was. So it took 6 months to replenish that.
Yeah.
So they immediately were like, okay, let's double what we're aging now in that double barrel. I made that part up, but whatever they decided to do, they were like, okay, we've got to up our number because now the demand's crazy. And instead of just letting it stay crazy, like a place like Buffalo Trace or somewhere like that, they actually tried to meet the demand, and now it sits on the shelves and it's good.
No, I agree.
I mean, it
'Cause
doesn't.
like
I shouldn't
1910.
say it sits on the shelves. It's not like museum quality where it's overpriced. It sits on the shelves and people buy it. So it's like replenished,
Yeah.
but it's available
It's not
is what I'm saying.
overly difficult to
Every
find.
once in a while I go in a place that doesn't have
Yeah.
one of them, 1910 or 1920,
Yeah.
but they're there.
Speaking of museum quality, I was telling Brett earlier, there was a bottle that I picked up from the Field Museum in Chicago, and they partnered with a local distiller and ran a 125-year-old mash bill and sold it as a part of the 125 years of the Field Museum.
Nice. Start
And
pouring that out.
it's not a bourbon, so it's a rye, and it's like I'd have to look it up. I forget the actual mash bill, so I'm not going to say it. But all of their rye was aged in fig leaves and figs, and it tastes like a fig Newton. It is weird and phenomenal,
Scotchmore.
and I
There we
love
go.
it.
I would be all over that.
So I
Give
will
me
take that
just
next
a
time.
touch more than that. You keep getting the Bourbon Heads glass. That's so funny.
I do. So there's the one that you want more than that one.
No, that's good. And I don't know if Jason's video came out this week or not. It would have been today for the new Bourbon Heads portion of his video that we did.
Okay. I love the one. That's the Bourbon Heads glass is my favorite.
The one that has the picture on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's cool. That one actually is really cool. The Bourbon Heads where it just says the words is nice too because it's just plain. But
This nose is my favorite nose so far.
Oh my god!
you haven't opened this yet, right?
No.
So let's talk about the 1924. I already said this a little bit right before at the beginning of the episode. How you
I already
called
know
me-
what I want to say. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We talked about that already. My initial nose is like cinnamon raisin bread.
Ooh, that's a good note.
So let me introduce this. So now we're in the Whiskey Row series. We had single barrel before. We had the 117 series. We had the President's Choice.
Like icing on it, like cinnamon raisin bread with icing.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
go ahead.
No, you're fine.
It was just there.
No.
I had to talk.
it's like
it
an
was there.
Easter Sunday.
I don't want you to forget it, so that's
Yeah.
good. So this is the 1924. So Old Forester did a thing back when Jackie Zykin was there, which was I
Love you,
love-
Jackie.
Yeah, I love this idea that they had,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the idea was to tell the history of Old Forester through different expressions throughout the years. And so they did a 1870, which was their original batch. They did an 1897, which was the bottled and bond year. They did a 1910, which was the last one they released before this one. So chronologically, they actually released 1870, 1897, 1920, then 1910. But the 1920 was their what they called the Prohibition style. It was the one they released right before. It was the way they were making it right into Prohibition when it was medicinal.
And they
all
were
that
allowed
stuff.
to continue
Right.
distilling for medicinal purposes.
Which I still favorite prescription ever was 2 tablespoons as needed.
Yeah. And however many people in your family, I'm doing air quotes, that were sick could
Yep.
get a prescription.
Yep.
And so you'd have everyone in your family would be sick so that they could get their whiskey, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so that's how they were telling their story of their whiskey through the years. That's the Whiskey Row series. They are located in Whiskey Row in Louisville, and so they call it the Whiskey Row series. So if you ever see an Old Forester with a date on it, like 1870, 1897, 1910, 1920, 1924, that's part of the Whiskey Row series. So the Whiskey Row series 1924, which is what we have in the glass now, it's their first age-stated Whiskey Row series, and it's 10 years old. It's a limited annual release, so it's not their standard Whiskey Row availability. It's a limited annual release, celebrating another milestone in Old Forester's storied history. During Prohibition, more than 200 distilleries were forced to close. Old Forester, however, continued operations because the federal government issued one of 6 medicinal licenses to them. P3 was theirs. So that's kind of going back to what you talked about. They were able to continue distribution and production through Prohibition for medicinal purposes. In 1924, Old Forester acquired barrels from closed distillers. So they were able to buy barrels from old distilleries and use them as their own because they were still a producing distillery. So with different mash bills and bottled that liquid as Old Forester. So this is not your traditional mash bill of Old Forester 1924 here. That's the idea of this. So this release commemorates that moment in time when they were buying barrels from other distillers that weren't able to sell anymore or distribute anymore. So what do you get on the nose? You mentioned, what did you mention to begin with?
Cinnamon raisin bread.
Okay.
With like a little, like, you know, I get like the icing on it sometimes.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of exactly, like that cinnamon raisin bread.
What do you
icing.
get on those?
I get a Cadbury egg.
Okay.
Oh,
Like that chocolate,
okay.
that caramel, like I get where you're going with like the cinnamon raisin. Like I get like deep into that like chocolatey caramel.
I get a lot of tobacco.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
This is like the
We're
most
all like
divisive nose we've ever had.
It is. Now, let me read off what they say on there. Let me scroll down.
I have not read this, by the way.
I also love
Hold
that
on.
like we all get different notes, but everyone's like, "This is fucking phenomenal."
Oh yeah, agree.
All right, so I'm scrolling down to aroma, just now seeing it. Soft notes of fudge, cocoa, marzipan,
I win.
and hold on, and cured tobacco, layered over hints of rich oak and warm cinnamon.
We're all right.
we all had parts.
We all
of it.
picked out something.
Isn't that crazy?
So much like Captain Planet, our notes combined.
Yeah.
I don't have taste showing yet, so I'm just showing. Oh man, that nose is good. I am getting the cinnamon now, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
It's a
did you-
good
What did
cinnamon.
you say?
Cadbury egg.
Oh, okay, that's what you meant. The chocolatey
The
kind
chocolate,
of. Okay.
the caramel,
Yeah.
like
Okay. Yeah. So we all had something.
Yeah.
All right. So let's taste this. Let's go into this. Oh, a little bit of viscosity there. That's nice.
A little bit of cork.
A little bit of cork you got. I left that just for you, even though you poured your own.
it's very cool. Like it actually like I
Like a
felt my
cooling
mouth,
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wonder like
Sometimes in bourbon that's meant to me.
I was about to say like
Agree.
I don't want to call that a menthol,
But I don't get-
but like it's not a menthol, it's not quite a mint. Maybe like an herby undertone to it that did that for me.
I want to go back in. I'm going to drink
same.
some water first, though.
Same.
Drink a little bit of water, clear out the palate just a touch. Smell my nose, smell my hand.
Smell your
My
nose.
finger.
I want to smell Brett's finger. That's odd. Your finger smells like my tongue. I guess we both came from your house. Never mind. All right. Nose. Yeah, still the same for me.
Yeah, still get the Cadbury egg.
I feel like this is the most viscous we've had so
I was
far.
going to say it has great viscosity.
But you know what it doesn't have, surprisingly, is a good finish. Everything else about it, I feel like there's a lot here, but there's not a strong finish. Are you guys getting a strong finish?
I get like it builds up to like a heat that lingers a bit with the viscosity,
But not,
like
not on the finish. It's like in the mid tongue.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like it comes in. It's like a bell curve.
yeah. Because
Like it goes up mid tongue and then it kind of dies off in the finish for me.
The second one we had, I forget which one that was. That one like had the good lingering, like that stayed with you for a while. This one is more viscous.
The
but
second one we had was the President's Choice.
yeah. Then
The first one we had was a single barrel.
Then-
President's Choice. We're on the third one now.
Well, the primer might be thrown.
Oh, the
in.
primer. Yeah.
Sorry.
So you might have had the second one being the single barrel.
yep, that was me.
That was you, not the rest of us.
No, just me. I like it though.
It's interesting because it doesn't have a strong finish to me, but I am getting like a little bit of almost like a s'mores type of taste to it, and maybe that's why there's not a strong finish because it's not spicy to me. It's almost like a marshmallowy graham cracker.
Graham crackers, what I'm getting.
That's a good
I
one.
was like, what is that? It's graham cracker.
Also, I get some stone fruit out of it. Like I can't quite tell if it's more like peach
getting
or
that.
cherry or like even apricot. I get a stone fruit out of it.
I don't get stone fruit. Ooh, there was a little finish on that drink. I don't know what I did differently in my mouth, but that one actually stuck with me a little bit more. I just got a little.
Yeah.
I got a little Kentucky hug on that one.
Maybe this
I had
is
some Kentucky Hug on one of mine too.
a third sip bourbon.
I don't know if I like inhaled over my tongue as it was there, maybe, but this hasn't been the strongest finish of what we've had. But that sip right there had a little bit of a good finish. All right, I'm going to move down to the taste and leave the finish hidden. Taste says chocolate covered graham cracker.
Yeah, there you go.
There's just some more.
Dusted with cinnamon. I'm not getting cinnamon on the palate.
I don't get any cinnamon.
I get the graham cracker.
Yeah.
And maybe that finish was a little bit of cinnamon.
I don't get any cinnamon out of this.
But I definitely get cinnamon on the nose. This is good.
Agree.
Oh, there's okay. I get a little cinnamon on that drink in the finish. It's all in the finish. But I still get the bell curve.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is it's all like sweetness in the middle, and it's weird sweetness. It's not like, I don't know, it's not what I expect to have in a bourbon on the taste profile.
Yeah.
It's like marshmallowy graham cracker.
S'more was a really good like tasting note. Like that is
Yeah, it's more.
like the full profile that I'm getting.
Okay, so
I
good. I'm
still
glad
get a little bit of stone fruit out of it, but like
okay, so when
Maybe
you
that's
say
the
stone
cinnamon.
fruit, do you mean like
a very umami sweetness.
you've been watching Pornhub?
Eh. Yes,
A very
but I've also
stepmommy-
been watching.
Did you say stepmommy? Is that what you said?
Umami.
Oh, umami.
I've also been watching a hell of a lot of cooking challenges.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so
I would not know what umami is.
That's-
All right, I'm going to go down to finish. All right, so the finish says hints of spice and graham cracker crumbles. I'm getting a little bit of spice now. I wasn't originally. But now that I've had a few drinks of it, the spice is starting to linger a little on the finish. It's still probably the softest finish I've had this evening.
Yeah. This is one that like I guess the second one we tasted here, whichever one that was, like stuck with you for a while. This one it clears out quick, and so I'm ready for another sip a lot sooner than I was previously.
Which I guess marketing wise, great on
Right,
them.
drink more.
President's Choice is probably still my favorite right now.
I would agree with that
was
statement.
damn good.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being that good. That's what's blowing my mind.
Well, I mean, look at how much it's oxidized, and it's just evolving.
Yeah, that could be. That could be all it is. I mean, really. This is
Does
good.
it taste great, or is it less filling? Was that Miller Lite, or I forget which beer? It might have been Miller Lite back in the day. Those old commercials.
I don't remember.
That's where that started from.
I think it is Miller Lite.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Does it taste great? No, it's
Less
less filling.
Tastes great.
Yeah.
Less filling. So far, I haven't been disappointed by any of these.
Oh my gosh, no.
There's
But
something
I-
nutty
but-
in here, man. Like a walnut. I don't know what that is.
These nuts, something.
D's.
This is good, though. This is good. It's different good. President's Choice, I think, had the most well-rounded everything.
It was complex.
I
Yeah.
like
Sure.
it was a like different good. All of these I would happily sit down and like have an evening with.
Yeah.
Right.
But like they're for
Good
all
point.
different reasons.
No, good point.
Some of them are like it's going to be a good like linger, and it's going to be a like you take a sip and it's going to be with you.
As you
for a
can tell,
while.
the single barrel, I've had a couple of good evenings. already. It's almost empty. It's already more empty than my President's Choice.
Yeah.
1920. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Brett, you're the official poor man.
I do enjoy me some 1920. It was one of my favorites when I first started really like getting into bourbon more, and I don't even know why I picked it up. I have no idea.
I love 1920.
But I was like, I don't know what this is, but I really like it.
1920 is one of those bourbons where like when people ask me what bourbon tastes like, I end up describing a 1920.
It can come off a little hot. It's a little higher proof. It's 115. But it's very like campfire to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very marshmallow. It's like smoky. We'll just do
That
that.
was very gurgly.
I know, right?
That was a.
Glug, 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 glug.
All right, so
I
we talked
almost feel bad.
about the Whiskey Row series. We are kind of going in the reverse order here. We're only doing 2 of the Whiskey Row series tonight, but the 1920, I already kind of hinted at this. It is what they would akin to Prohibition styles, what they call it, going into Prohibition, how they were making bourbon at that time for medicinal purposes. So it says the Volstead Act of 1920, which initiated Prohibition in the USA, granted permits to 6 distillers in Kentucky to continue the bottle bourbon for medicinal purposes. Through one of these permits, Old Forester continued to be produced as medicinal whiskey on Louisville's famed Whiskey Row, hence the Whiskey Row series. It is the only bourbon continuously sold by the same company that has been available for sale before, during, and after Prohibition. Mm-hmm. That's pretty unique.
Yeah.
Anytime you can say only, you're pretty unique.
Do you know what? So I know Peerless also got a prescription license. Do you know the other 4?
Are you sure Peerless had a prescription license?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That surprises me.
They had one, they closed, and then they reopened.
Okay.
If I remember correct, because we went on the tour. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can look it up here in a second. There's a little computer in your hand that gives you the magical answers to those questions.
Trying to give you an option to show off your bourbon
I'm already
knowledge.
fucking on the Old Forester site. I've never heard that Peerless had a medicinal. I had no idea they were one of the 6. Mm-hmm. So
a friend of mine who's like a collector of just anything, because he's well off, we'll put it that way. He has an original prescription from the Prohibition era that was written by a physician.
Be worth
That's
a shit ton of money.
Awesome.
No,
So
I
it's neat.
get
He's
it.
in it's like in this neat like little framed thing.
Yeah.
And he just has like very unique collectibles like that.
No, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
the type of
super cool.
collectibles I care about. I could give 2 shits about Pappies as a collectible, unless it's like the Pappies that was like the last year of it being from Stitzel Weller with the yeast strain that doesn't exist anymore. That would be cool.
I need to point
But,
out
like,
too, because like
you know,
bourbon's trendy right now, right?
Yeah.
This isn't. He's had this since, oh my god, at least like 2008 or 9. You know what I mean? So he's been into like whiskeys and stuff, and Blanton's was always his favorite. And again, we're talking like before John Wick and all these things that have made it mainstream. But,
Right.
yeah.
So continuing on with the Old Forester 1920 Whiskey Row series, it says that during the time of Prohibition, all whiskeys had to be bottled at 100 proof. Bottled. However, with a barrel entry proof of 100, the Angel Share would have created a 115 proof whiskey after maturation. And this is a 115 proof profile or expression. To pay homage to this era, Old Forester presents 1920 Prohibition-style bourbon at 115 proof to represent the rich flavor profile this bourbon had nearly 100 years ago. We're talking 104 years ago now. Ooh. All right. What do we get on the nose? Let's do this shit. Ooh, that nose. That's good.
I might be having flavor overload because I'm not getting what I normally get with this.
I get cherry. I get a lot of cherry.
I get a little bit of cherry. I get...
Ooh, caramel. The first thing, cherry just jumped into my nose, and now caramel's really starting to...
I get a spices.
I can't wait to scroll down and see what everyone gets.
It's still changing for me. My first nose, I don't even want to say.
I get
No, what was your
lot
first
of cherry
nose?
now.
Super floral. And then the
that's
second
okay.
nose, it wasn't there.
All right, let me go down before everyone has a
I
chance.
get a lot of cherry. I definitely get... I get some level of spices, but I can't pinpoint what.
All right. You're like...
Yeah,
Right.
I know I'm wrong. It was just because I've had this so many times.
Hey.
It's okay to be wrong.
You
I
are
know.
wrong.
I know.
The best
I know.
bourbon is the
That's why I said I
bourbon
don't
you
even want to
just
say it.
So Aroma, on their website, Aroma says, intense medley of cherry preserves,
Uh-huh.
drippy caramel,
Okay.
dark chocolate, thickened maple syrup, and seasoned oak spiciness.
That's the part I couldn't pinpoint.
I haven't gotten the maple syrup. I haven't gotten the dark chocolate, but I did get the cherry and the caramel.
I get the maple syrup after you mentioned it. I don't get the chocolate.
I'm still not getting it. I could maybe see like cacao chocolate type.
I mean,
and that's dark chocolate, but
also based off of my tasting notes, I start at the bottom. So like the little things that you get.
yeah, I'm not getting chocolate. I'm not getting maple syrup.
I get maple syrup. I don't get chocolate.
You do get the maple syrup.
I do get the maple syrup.
God damn, this is good.
You just tasted it.
Yeah, this is why.
Let's dive in. We're over an hour. Let's get into this.
This is why this is always one of my favorites. Is the viscosity. It just coats your tongue so much like syrup.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I have, like I said,
I get like caramel and nuttiness.
Mm-hmm. I get a lot of.
It's like chewy.
It is chewy.
The viscosity is outstanding. You're right on that.
That's why that's why this was one of my favorite bottles that I ever like first.
Ooh, the finish is still going.
Yeah,
There's like a pepper.
Amazing.
No. What do they put on like steak and stuff?
blue cheese.
No.
I was like,
Pepper. Peppercorn.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, they put that on steak, right?
yeah. Are you getting peppercorn?
I think so.
I'm getting just like
I got like a so here's full
confectioner-like
transparency.
notes.
I just had I know this is totally slumming it from Tyler's perspective, but I had Texas Roadhouse last night. And holy shit. So I've had 3 really good steaks in the last 2 months. 3 months. Trina and I went to Hyde Park after I got my job. And
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Hyde Park is outstanding. I don't know that there's a better steakhouse in all of Columbus. And if you go to the original, the old Bethel Road,
yeah.
that's the original. If you go there, it's so much better than all the other Hyde Parks. So if you go there, and oh my God, they have an old fashioned that is so freaking good. Oh my God. So outstanding. That was a treat yourself type of moment.
Totally get it.
Yeah.
We went like a month before that to the Avenue.
Okay.
And then we had Texas Roadhouse last night. I will say, in order, Hyde Park was number 1, obviously. Texas Roadhouse kicked the shit out of the Avenue. My Texas Roadhouse to-go steak was better than my Avenue steak. And it was $55 for my entire meal with me and Trina compared to like $180 at the Avenue for me and Trina.
This is a bit of a hot take.
It's not a hot take. I'm right there with you. I know what you're going to say.
Okay, I don't remember the last time I ordered a steak while I was out. Because most time, I'm like, I can do better at home.
Well, there's a thing too where
I get that.
I was reading.
You
about
won't do better
this.
than Hyde Park.
That I agree with. I agree with the hype. But like any
But-
I can like butter braise my own steak with
Sure.
a lot of thyme
Yes.
herbs, and like I will be happy with that at home.
So my argument against most steak shops, like high-end steak places, the old Cameron Mitchell's steak place, and all those different places, is I feel like the amount you're paying, Morton Steakhouse is one of them, Jack Ruby or
Jeff Ruby.
Yeah, that one.
Jack Ruby killed Oswald.
Yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald. There you go.
But although most of those places, Hyde Park's the exception for me. Most of those places, you're paying like $50 more, and everything's a la carte. And so I don't think you're getting the value that adds up to that much price difference than you would just going to Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And getting a sirloin.
Yeah.
I got my sirloin yesterday, medium rare, took it home, and it was outstanding. I had blue cheese crumbles on top, and they give you their butter rolls with their crazy. The butter they have is like flavored butter,
like cinnamon sugar butter or whatever.
I think that's what it is, something like that, and it's so good. And like just the experience at Texas Roadhouse, like Trina and I ate our whole meal, salads, 2 sides, steaks, $55 for the both of us. That's with tip.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a sore penis, man. It's hard
Can't
to beat.
beat it.
It's hard to beat. And you go to a steak shop, like an actual steakhouse, yes, you get the ambiance, you get all this stuff, But is the steak really $100 better? Really? Is it?
No. I mean, I read something about this a while ago that it's not like that there's like secret cows that they like have sitting off to the side.
Secret cows.
Like,
that just sounded funny.
For like,
secret cows.
Seriously, for like better
no,
steaks.
I know, but that just sounded funny.
You know what I mean?
No, but like things can be done, like the aging process, versus killing it and putting it on your plate versus letting it age.
Dry aging,
you know, for a few months or weeks or whatever they do. But I can't justify the amount of cost. The only place I feel like it's actually reasonable is Hyde Park here in Columbus. If you're looking for someone to sponsor Hyde Park, if you're listening, we're open.
Okay, tasting note. I've been digging for this.
Go for it.
Sugar cane.
I haven't done tasting on their site yet, have I? Right?
No,
because it still just says aroma. Let me scroll down.
Okay. Before you do, I'm getting. I know they won't have it. Sugar cane. Like it's a little bit of a sweetness, but that very woody
What do you get on the
you
taste?
chew on it a little bit.
It's a very like confectioner, like sweet,
I get some
marshmallowy
confectionery sugar on it.
Yeah, like the best way I can describe it's like confectioner because it's like a very like dessert, heavy caramel, heavy like marshmallow.
Caramel I get.
I get marshmallow.
And I get a little bit of a spice at the end. It's nice.
That's why the 1915 is so good because you get the oakiness of the 1910 paired with like the marshmallow of the 1920, and it's like a s'mores.
Yeah,
the Hyman style 1915.
Open Hun.
I've got a 1915 back there. So this says on their website. Let me scroll. All right. So taste. Dark caramel coats layers of malt, nuttiness, and sweet graham cracker, all warmed by green peppercorn. There's your peppercorn. And coriander spice, brightened with a hint of cedar.
Cedar's probably the wood that I was tasting.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will say though, the second you said malt, I don't know why I didn't think of that beforehand. I was like, "Yep, that was it."
I mean, that adds a softness to everything.
I get a lot.
It kind
of
of
malt.
binds everything together, makes a little bit of a softness. I could see, the malt nuttiness. I don't know that I get nuttiness, but the malt makes sense. All right, how do we finish on this?
I got to drink more.
This is pretty high up there for me. This is.
I meant finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like how you were ranking them.
Yeah, we'll rank all of these here in a second, but you've always been a fan of the 1920, though, right?
Always. Yep.
Yeah.
Always. Like even early on in my bourbon journey.
Bourbon Journey. Not to be confused with my bourbon journey on YouTube.
I mean, there's definitely a little bit of heat in there with it being the 115 proof. I don't mind it.
All right, so here's what their website says.
115 is not distracting.
110s are a good spot.
Yeah, that's a good spot for everything.
Yeah.
All right, their website says finish. Tart apple crispiness, or crispness, not crispiness, sorry, gives way to a long smoky finish full of toasted marshmallow, chocolate, and graham cracker sweetness. You mentioned the marshmallow earlier.
That's always very prominent for me.
I don't get the chocolate today.
I get an apple crisp out of this.
Well, it says apple crispness.
Yeah, I get a very strong apple crisp.
What I'm not getting is the chocolate or the graham cracker sweetness.
Well, so the apple crisp
encompasses
dessert
all that
thing that you make.
Yeah.
That is the
like a crust, graham cracker crust type.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
okay,
Right.
sure.
So I get the graham cracker out of that. What was that, Brett?
What's a little discouraging for me, if we had done a blind, like a whiskey row blind, I really think I would put the 1920 before the 1924.
Why is that discouraging? Because of the price?
Because of the price, yeah, and the hype. Like
But
I thought
you know
this
what?
10-year was going to. It's not that it's bad. I'm not saying that.
I don't know that there was a lot of hype for this 1924.
I thought I read some on the interwebs, but that could just be like.
If anything, I felt
Bourbon
like
Bros.
the 1924 has been panned. And it's probably because of the price compared to it's twice the price of everything else in the Whiskey Row series. I'm okay with it. I think it's fine.
It's not that it's bad. I
It's
just
not
think
bad at all.
in a blind,
Yeah,
I think I would pick the 115, whatever, 1920.
the
sorry,
1920.
Yep.
over the 1924.
So if I had
And there's
to,
4 years difference.
yeah, if I had to go through this and rank these
I'm kidding. The 20.
myself, so I'm going to give my rankings. You guys can go next. I'd say President's Choice is number 1 for me.
I think that's easy.
1920 is probably my number 2. 1924 is my number 3. And this Bourbon Enthusiast pick is outstanding, and they're all outstanding. So even though Bourbon Enthusiast is number 4, I think all of these are really, really good.
I'm the same. I didn't think that you would rate that way. I figured you'd put the 24 over the 20.
We don't normally rate the same.
Yeah, no,
there's subtle differences usually.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
I'm the same.
No, and you know why the 1924 for me, lack of finish.
And it could open up. It could. I mean,
Maybe,
I doubt it's going to
but
add a finish.
I don't think it's going to add a finish. Yeah, exactly. The nose was a little muted, and
the nose on that one was the good.
nose was really
that was
good.
where I got that weird
it was
cinnamon
the finish.
raisin
It was
bread.
the finish for me. It was the
think
finish.
the like mine is just flipping the 1920 and 1924. The President's Choice, obviously. 1924, I really enjoyed the nose. That stood out to me
It did. The
so
nose was
much.
great.
You're right.
in
The nose was
everything
really good.
That was the one that I felt like I remember that one.
Yeah.
The 1920 was good, but it's okay. Well, it's better than okay. But the 1920 was good, but the 1924 I remember that nose very distinctly.
So let me just say this from your perspective, the 2 high-end price ones are your number 1 and 2.
Apparently.
So, I mean, value-wise, you're accepting the value.
I honestly had no idea what they cost because I wasn't paying attention.
I think I don't remember what the President's Choice was, but I think it was like $150.
Okay.
The 1924 is $115.
Yeah, plus tax.
And then
from my perspective, I'm drinking your bourbon, so it's all free. And when I'm not paying for anything, that is my line.
And that should be how it is. And then if you want to add a value to it later,
yeah,
I'm fine with that. But I agree with you on that. Let me look real quick to see what I paid for the President's Choice, because I've got it in my Excel spreadsheet.
There you go. The other thing that I like about the President's Choice, and this is it shouldn't be a factor in bourbon, but it always is for me personally.
It was $150.
Is how excited you were to share the story of how you got it. And for me,
because I just lucked upon it.
Yeah, and
but that's always going to be something I remember.
Tell people that for me, the best bourbon is the bourbon you enjoy. The second best bourbon is your favorite story to tell. I don't care if it's absolute horse shit.
Yeah.
If it is just, this is the story that it was fun and let's go on this ride together, it's going to be a good bourbon. And I'm happy for it.
For me, the biggest trump of all of it is spending it together, drinking. Mm-hmm. But that's a close second. So, but here's the interesting thing: the 1924 and the President's Choice, they're not in the same stratosphere, but they're close. So, President's Choice was, I'm at a concert not expecting anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Out of town, just I'm going to go get a 1910 to drink for the weekend, and here's President's Choice. Holy shit. The 1924 was kind of similar in the sense that I'm here in town. I'm in my hometown. Right. And I look at my phone after a CrossFit workout. We just did Guido. And I'm like, oh, shit, 1924 is in town. I'm going to go see if it's still in my regular, place. And then I get a text from Brett that says, hey, guys, is it your regular place? So I'm like, oh, shit. So I rushed home, took Clyde, my new addition to our dog family, 6-month-old charcoal lab, run straight over to Giant Eagle, and it was there. And I actually ran into Brett while I was there, and he FaceTimed Trina.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they acted like they hadn't already seen each other 2 hours earlier. So it's fine. All right, guys. An hour and 20 minutes into this one. This was a good episode. I really enjoyed. I know this wasn't cohesive like all Whiskey Row or whatever in that way, but it was cohesive in that everything was Old Forester. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed this. I thought everything we had tonight was good, even back to the primer, which was the 117 series.
The worst bourbon here, I would happily sit down for.
Yeah, there's nothing here I would be upset about if someone gave it to me.
Yeah.
Nothing. And that goes even the 117 series. I don't even know. That was really good too.
Yeah.
That was a great
Absolutely.
start
Yeah,
to our
absolutely.
evening. And I don't even know how I would rank the 117 in all this. That was an N for any of you to.
I honestly
No,
like,
it was.
I think the 117. So I
It's
put
hard to
the
tell. It would
precedence
be-
and then the 1924. I'd put the 1917 after that.
I probably would too.
The
I
117,
agree.
you mean.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
117
sorry.
I would put after President's Choice.
Yeah, I think I'd probably say the same. It was good. All right, guys. Don't forget we have our Sonic Temple giveaway. Please enter. We have a decent number of entries, actually. Nothing crazy, but a decent number.
Which means you have a good chance of winning.
You do have a good chance of winning 2 GA Stadium passes for the entire weekend. And it's Thursday through Sunday this year as opposed to Friday through Sunday.
Right.
So they added a day. And the lineup is freaking phenomenal.
I will say the Thursday lineup with like Evanescence and
the lineup this year in
Oh my
general
gosh.
is the best it's ever been,
it
I
is
think.
fun. Like I am excited for this weekend.
This year's lineup is the best I feel like it's ever been.
Yeah.
And then not only that, you also get some swag from Bourbon Hunters. You get a couple of Kinsey drams. You get we got the new fella, Clyde. He's down here hanging out with us. Maybe Banks reincarnated. We'll see. Are you going to be our bourbon buddy?
Of course he is.
Yeah, he's going to be our bourbon buddy.
Clyde's like, I like bourbon.
So you get a couple of shirts, you get Kinsey drams, all that kind of stuff. Sign up. You go to our website to do that. It's www.bourbonhunters.com, and you get to enter into our contest. And we do our drawing. I think the cutoff is April 23rd. We announce it on April 25th if you win. But sign up.
Yeah, and even if you don't win, let us know if you're going to be there because
Yeah, we'd love
I think
to meet
we
up
are
with you.
all going to be there at
Yeah.
some point in time.
We'll
so.
all be there, except for Brett. Brett doesn't
I won't
like.
be there.
I was
Brett-
trying to give you
I don't
an
like-
out.
I don't
and
like
just, like
large
low-key.
crowds.
Brett doesn't like to have fun or have large crowds. So.
Large crowds is not my thing.
Yeah, all right.
All right, guys. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Thank you for joining us on yet another hunt for great bourbon. Please give us a 5-star review anywhere you are listening. But if you can't, leave some constructive criticism in the review so that we can get better at improving our show. Good reviews help us bring better guests on for your listening pleasure, not mine. But until then, sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy some bourbon.